Hi, I'm Steve Thompson, President and CEO of Emery Thompson Machine, and my co-host today is not here, Christy Brown, Vice President of Sales and Marketing. She is on assignment. That's a buzzword for it's Labor Day weekend, and she's already off to the beaches. But I have an assistant sitting in. This is Teddy T. Teddy T is actually my grandson. He's 1 year old, so since he's not ready to come work as sixth generation Emery Thompson, we have a little stand-in. So I'm going to answer some questions today and also do a little quick short bit about some history of Emery Thompson. This is, of course, Stella, if you can see her down here, and Sammy over there. So let me get to the questions. The first one is about removing milkstone. Do I have to worry about milkstone? Well, milkstone is a buildup that gets on machinery and components from dairy products. Ice cream blend, as we call it, or mix, is milk, cream, sugar, skim milk. You really don't have to worry about it in a batch freezer. It's more of a concern for big companies like Breyers or Bluebell or Hershey, any of those companies, where they're using a 1,000-gallon-an-hour continuous freezer, and they're cleaned by CIP, clean in place. We take our machines apart at night and scrub everything in the sink, in the three-compartment sink, and then leave it out on a table to dry. So milkstone really just isn't a factor. His other question was, what about using Stera-Sheen? Is there an alternative to it? Yes, there is. The original way for sanitizing, killing bacteria, is one cap, not a cup, but a cap full of Clorox bleach to a gallon of water. That will do a very good job if you're on a desert island and have nothing else to use. Still, I recommend the Stera-Sheen because your health department, you have to be as knowledgeable as they are, if not more so, in my opinion. And they look at the Stera-Sheen and say, oh, that's a well-run operation. I recognize that sanitizer. I wouldn't recommend any other sanitizers. There are companies that have different ones for different applications, but for ice cream, a chlorine-based one, and the Stera-Sheen seems to work the very best. He also asked about the stainless steel that we use. He says, are Emery Thompson machines 316 or 304? Well, yes and no. 316 that he asks about is a very high-grade, shiny stainless steel, and the problem with it is it's brittle. And it looks nice if you're doing on a fixed piece of equipment that's not moving or rotating, but for durability, we don't want 316. We use 303 on the dasher and 304 on the cylinder. These are different hardnesses. For the dasher, the 303 works well because it's very machinable. On the 304, it's a very, very strong stainless steel, and we use that for the rotating parts going around the cylinder. We use it on the cylinder. He asked also back to the chlorine, what can go wrong with chlorine? Well, when we're talking about machinery, anything can go wrong. So we try to educate our customers to absolutely everything. You're supposed to put the sanitizer in, or the cap full of Clorox with a gallon of water, and run it for 1 to 3 minutes, depending on what your health department says. Not what we say, but they will tell you how long they want you to run it. And then after that, you rinse it out, and it's a solution that's so weak you can now go ahead and make ice cream. Once in a while, maybe once a year, we get a phone call and they say, all the parts in my Emery Thompson turned black. What's happened? Well, what happened is they put the sanitizer into the cylinder and then left it in there overnight, 8, 10, 15 hours, maybe a few days, and the Clorox bleach put this black coating or sheen onto the stainless steel. It's not doing any harm, it just looks awful. And it can be polished back to the original gleaming stainless steel. But the point is, don't do it. Pay attention to what you're doing at the end of the day. I know it's 11 o'clock at night, you're tired, but take the time to sanitize the machine properly and then leave all the parts out to dry on a table. Let's see. The next one is I went to, and I'll leave the name of the store out. It's a chain. The ice cream was very soft and meaty. Is that a result of the dipping cabinets? Actually, yes, it is. The ice cream, after it was made, wasn't hardened properly, and then it's being served too soft out of the dipping cabinet. So it does get that greasy, meaty, texture to it, which is not good. The best way to handle it is straight out of the batch freezer into a hardening cabinet, which is going to take it to 10, 15, 20 below 0 Fahrenheit. And you can leave it in there as long as you want. That's your inventory. Or you can pull it out the next morning and move it over to your serving cabinets to warm up. He also wrote, actually I read this wrong, I thought it read, how do I know when I run out of product in the serving freezer? Well, you know you ran out of product in the serving freezer because your freezer's empty. But as I reread it again, I think what he's trying to say is when I run out of ice cream in my scooping cabinet, my serving cabinet, and I pull the ice cream out of my hardener, either 10 below or 25 below, how long is it going to take to warm up to where I can scoop it? Can I scoop it at 10 below? No, you can't. It would be hard as a rock. But you can later on, or as you move it to the serving cabinet, it will warm up to +6 degrees. That's the ideal serving temperature for ice cream. For gelatos, we like it a little warmer. We go 8 to 10 degrees. And for Italian ice, which has a high sugar content and completely different freezing properties, we're all the way up at +16 degrees. I feel that if you ever walk into an ice cream parlor and you see a tub of ice cream next to a tub of Italian ice, run the other way. Because the only way you're going to get the two of those at the same temperature is if you put a lot of artificial chemicals into the Italian ice to reduce the freezing point. So that's not a good idea. Lastly, that's my two questions. And lastly, just a little bit of history of Emery Thompson, who we are, in case you're new to watching these videos. My grandfather was named Emery, E-M-E-R-Y, Thompson. Back when he was born, the turn of 2 centuries ago, they had different names. We weren't known as Billy or Frankie or Steve. There was Emery. And so that was his first name. A lot of people think we're a law firm of Emery and Thompson, but no, that was his first and last name. He was working in a department store in Lower Manhattan because there weren't ice cream parlors yet in 1903. You got your ice cream, your candy, and your pastry goods from the bottom floor, the basement floor of a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's or the department store he was working in. He was using the old salt and ice machines, the hand crank where you got to turn it for 40 minutes and it makes a batch of ice cream. He went back to his home in New Rochelle, New York, which was a suburb of New York City, about 25 minutes out, and invented the modern day batch freezer. Ken, our IT man, is putting up a picture now of what that first batch freezer looked like. Pretty primitive, but that was the world's first mechanized batch freezer and the world's first patented one. So it's safe to say that all ice cream that you have ever eaten, all hard ice cream, began in 1905 with Emery Thompson's invention. All batch freezers in the world are based on our loosely, but the concept of the horizontal freezer, the dasher spinning, the motors, the chilling method is all based on his original patents and our subsequent patents. So when you come to Emery Thompson, you're at the very start of the entire business. In the 1920s, the Great Depression, my father, Ted, and my uncle, Emery Thompson Jr., who was called June, were in Cornell together, and they had to drop out because Emery Thompson passed away, and they ran the business together for as long as I could remember. I came along when I was 16 years old. The Vietnam War was going on, and it was suggested by one of our relatives who was a military man that Steve be taught a trade in case he's drafted. Instead of being sent to the front lines, the government will put him back repairing whatever he's trained for. So I worked on the assembly line building Emery Thompson batch freezers and worked my way up to salesman, to vice president, to president, and here I am today a bunch of years later. I hope these videos are helpful to you, and please call or contact Christy at emerythompson.com, CHRISTI, or me, Steve, at emerythompson.com, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.